I'm getting cold now that I'm not shoveling snow. Check it out, please. My tips appear to be frosted. Luke Nichols' YouTube channel, Outdoor Boys, saw a spectacular surge that few other YouTubers have experienced. With almost 15 million subscribers and billions of views, what began as a modest outdoor and family adventure vlog swiftly became a worldwide success. He became one of the most adored and well-known YouTube personalities as a result of his extraordinary success. Luke's announcement that he will no longer be filming videos was unexpected because of this. Come along as we reveal the true reason behind Outdoor Boys. Luke Nichols' decision to stop producing videos. Splattering my toast with melted butter. I've got some honey here. Spam, honey butter, and fried bread. That's the breakfast of champions. Luke Nichols decided to leave his extremely popular YouTube channel, Outdoor Boys, mostly because of the debilitating effects of being famous for going viral. Something he had not quite foreseen when he began posting straightforward family adventure and outdoor movies. Millions of people viewed the channel as harmless, instructive, and enjoyable. But the extreme publicity that came with its enormous popularity brought about a degree of public exposure that started to negatively impact the Nichols family's day-to-day existence. Outdoor Boys saw unheard of growth in the 2 years before his retirement, growing to around 15 million subscribers. Unexpectedly, a large portion of this expansion occurred quickly. 12 million new members signed up in just 18 months. Luke went from being a hobbyist content creator to becoming one of the most well-known figures in the outdoor adventure YouTube niche as a result of this exponential growth. But there was a cost to this celebrity. As the Nichols family became more well-known in public, fans would approach them for pictures, chats, or even spontaneous meet and greets when they were on vacation or grocery shopping. Luke characterized the experience as initially nice but ultimately draining and invasive, especially for his kids, who had no control over how much publicity their lives received. The decision to step back was quite personal, as Luke made plain in his farewell video. In contrast to all he liked about a peaceful, nature-focused family life, he feared that if they kept up their current pace, they would soon be the family that couldn't visit the park without being noticed. He decided consciously to leave before their ability to live secretly is totally eclipsed by fame. Luke's wish to regain equilibrium and presence in his personal life was a major driving force behind his departure, in addition to the publicity. As a husband and father to 3 boys, Luke has always placed a high value on backyard projects, camping excursions, fishing excursions, and bushcraft abilities. Paradoxically, he started to distance himself from these family experiences on the very YouTube channel that captured them. Filming an adventure isn't the only thing that goes into creating content for a popular channel like Outdoor Boys. It entails a great deal of preparation, writing, editing, social media management, sponsor correspondence, and continuous interaction with a large audience. These pressures added up to what Luke referred to as a second full-time job, albeit one with hazy limits. Even though his videos featured happy moments with his family, the reality behind the scenes was frequently stressful, with long evenings spent on editing and technical repairs, depriving him of the small pleasures of being a husband and father. As his kids started expressing their own interests and aspirations, this awareness became even more acute. Luke mentioned that he wished to spend more time with people not only physically, but also emotionally. Luke gained a new viewpoint, especially since his oldest son had started creating his own YouTube channel, Outdoor Tom. Instead of continuing to serve as the spokesperson for a huge brand, he made the decision that his time would be better spent coaching and helping his kid navigate the online world while avoiding some of the difficulties Luke had. Luke Nichols' resignation was also significantly impacted by the physically demanding and increasingly unsustainable workload of being a full-time YouTube content creator. Although his lifestyle, which included camping in isolated locations, constructing bushcraft shelters, and spending time outdoors seemed ideal to many viewers, the reality behind the scenes was much more difficult. Weekly production of excellent, captivating material turned into an unrelenting commitment that sapped his vitality and ultimately resulted in what he recognized as extreme creator burnout. Often, Nichols exerted himself to satisfy an increasingly demanding audience. This required going great distances with bulky equipment, filming in inclement weather, and spending hours often late into the night editing videos. In order to keep the consistency and caliber that fans had grown accustomed to, he talked about instances when he had to shoot episodes while emotionally or physically exhausted, going above and beyond his comfort zone. His health and mental clarity gradually deteriorated as a result of the mix of physical strain, sleep deprivation, and ongoing deadlines. Content creator burnout is a well-documented occurrence, particularly for those who, like Luke, juggle job and personal obligations. The boundaries between work and home are frequently blurred. When millions of people are watching, the pressure to perform also becomes unbearable. Luke began to feel a sense of obligation, as the joy that came from sharing his passions began to fade. Luke put his long-term health and well-being first by taking a step back. He realized that if he kept going in the same direction, he would not only physically exhaust himself, but also run the risk of becoming angry of the same thing he had once loved. He saved his love of nature, his family, and his personal tranquility by leaving before he got to that point. Luke's dissatisfaction with the widespread theft and exploitation of his content was a lesser-known but important factor in his decision to resign. Luke became aware that his videos were being reposted on third-party websites and social media platforms without his consent, as the Outdoor Boys channel gained enormous popularity. More than 4 billion views had been made of his family, he claimed. Luke claims that these reposts frequently garnered millions, and in many cases, billions, of extra views. More than 4 billion views had been made of his family, he claimed. Effective policing was practically impossible, due to the scope of the issue. However, the abuse of his content had practical repercussions that went beyond issues of intellectual property. More and more people started to recognize him and his family, as films went viral well beyond his control, sometimes in unexpected settings. Videos of his kids that had been shared in healthy contexts were being reposted in settings that were intrusive or exploitative. He was deeply affected by this loss of power over the perception of his own family. Luke finally came to the conclusion that if he kept creating content, the cycle would only continue. His publications were more susceptible to unlawful usage the more he published them. He wished to safeguard his family's privacy and dignity in addition to his intellectual property. Luke Nichols has retreated from his role as Outdoor Boys' front-facing star, but he hasn't completely left the video production industry. Rather, he is entering a new stage in which he will be more mentoring and supporting. Luke has alluded to a potential behind-the-scenes position for other artists or educational initiatives. He is in a unique position to assist emerging producers in creating morally sound and long-lasting channels because of his background in law, content creation, marketing, and family-friendly storytelling. In the future, he might provide consulting or work behind the scenes on projects that share his ideals. The goal of this shift is to regain equilibrium. Luke is able to maintain his involvement in the artistic community without having to deal with the demands of serving as its spokesperson. It supports his belief in empowerment as well. Instead of staying at the facility, he wants to help others. Luke is not withdrawing from creation by taking a step back in order to maintain his family and enable others to prosper without having to make the same sacrifices he did. He is rerouting it in a healthier, more deliberate manner. Goodbye. Luke Nichols' departure film elicited an immediate and intensely emotional reaction from the Outdoor Boys group. Gratitude, respect, and sadness were expressed in the comments section by fans, fellow creators, and lifelong watchers. Numerous others mentioned how his movies had aided in their ability to find solace during trying times, strengthen their bonds with family, or re-establish a connection with nature. It was overwhelmingly one of respect rather than disappointment. Luke's choice to leave a channel with almost 15 million members was an uncommon and audacious one in a digital environment where numbers and monetization are frequently the driving forces. Well-known YouTubers, such as Mr. Beast, publicly commended Luke for prioritizing his family and health over notoriety. "Good for him," tweeted Mr. Beast. "It is admirable that he knows what's important to him and adheres to it." This was a recurring theme on social media. Luke became an inspiration for purposeful living as well as outdoor life. He left behind a multifaceted legacy. In terms of creativity, he left behind hundreds of excellent videos covering DIY projects, fishing, family vacations, and wilderness survival. Millions of people are still entertained and educated by these videos. It's obvious that his influence will last even if he is not in the spotlight. His content wasn't the only reason his audience followed him. They were moved by his humility, humor, and sincerity. Nichols' removal served as a reminder to everyone that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is to say no and choose a life that feels really